in my eyes. You can sing, and bind us with your love. Yet we're so blind to see heaven's open doors. Oh, deep in the misty mountain of sin. So low, Lord, fix me. For you came to seek us, Lord. Bind us with your love. Yet we're so blind to see. Open doors. Oh, deep. We're so deep in sin. Mountain of sin. We're so deep in sin. Oh Lord, fix me. Oh Lord. I preach about the word and sing about it too, but I'm nowhere close to being the word I preach. Oh, sitting in your temple, clouded by my thoughts of what I was and what I have become. Oh, Father, please show me the way. Please forgive me. Open my eyes. You came to seek and save the lost, and bind us with your love. Yet we're so blind to see heaven's open doors. Oh, deep in the misty mountains. So Lord, oh Lord, fix me. Oh, you came to seek and save the lost, and bind us with your love. Yet we're so blind to see heaven's open doors. Deep in the misty mountain of sin. Father, I plead to you. Oh Lord, fix me. Oh, Father, I plead to you. Fix me. Father, I plead to you. Fix me. Lord, fix me. Lord, please fix me. Please fix me. Lord, fix me.
Fiji lies in the center of the South Pacific Islands. The capital city, Suva, is home to several international institutions, including a university, a medical school, and a technical school. These schools attract the brightest students from throughout the South Pacific. About 500 Adventist students are enrolled at these schools, but until recently, there was no Adventist church nearby, no place where these young people could come to worship and bring their friends to fellowship or study in a welcoming atmosphere. For a while, the group rented a hall at the university, but the university needed all of its larger halls on Sabbath morning, leaving the Adventist students with no place to worship. Thanks to the 2006 13th Sabbath offering, funds for a new church were available, but church leaders weren't able to find anything suitable and affordable near the university. One evening, Mission Youth Chaplain Pastor Joe and other mission leaders met with Adventist student representatives on the university campus to choose a property. Although none of them were ideal, the group voted to purchase a steep block of land about 2 kilometers from the university. It was after 10 p.m. when everyone left. As a group of students walked along the street, a car stopped in front of them. A man jumped out, ran up to a fence surrounding a large house sitting on a prime piece of property, quickly posted a for sale sign and left. We should tell our chaplain about this. The next morning, Pastor Joe's phone rang. He listened as an eager student described the property and its prime location. Thanking the student, Pastor Joe phoned the number on the sign. Right after the call, Pastor Joe went to see the property. It was perfect. Located just 2 blocks from the university and directly across the street from the largest cinema and shopping mall in Fiji. The pastor couldn't imagine a more visible and accessible location. He immediately called the real estate company and told them he wanted to buy the property. Pastor Joe met the man who hung up the sign and introduced himself as an Adventist chaplain. He told the man about his group's need for a permanent place to worship. As the pastor spoke, he noticed tears beginning to stream down the man's face. You know, as you were talking, I remembered the things I learned at the Suva Adventist Primary School. I remember the Bible stories and the singing. I'm going to call the owner of our company now. Before long, another man walked in, looked at Pastor Joe and exclaimed, "Oh, it's you! I know you! Some years ago, an Adventist girl I worked with invited me to come to church during a visitor's Sabbath. I came and you were the one speaking from the front." After some negotiating, Pastor Joe got the ideal property just 2 blocks from the university. The only problem now was that there was no church building on the property, just an old house. The group decided to build a new church building and replace the house. It took 8 months for the permits and permissions to start building, but the group finally got the approval. They chose an architectural plan featuring walls made of windows on either side of the new church. They used a lot of glass in the construction so that people coming out of the mall and cinema would see them worshiping. Today, more than 300 university students worship here. The church is within easy walking distance from campus and has become a gathering place for faith-building and outreach activities during the week as well as on Sabbaths. This transparent church truly shines as a bright light for all to see. Every weekend, people from all over the island come to sell food at Fiji's biggest market. Since they are traveling, they often have to sleep in the street with little food and water. They wait for the market to open so they can earn enough money to take back home. The youth group brings food to those who make the long trek into the city each weekend. People see them as a blessing and really appreciate all they do. The students have made friends with many of the traveling vendors. The youth are proud to serve the needs of others and to shine a bright light on the island of Fiji. Please pray for this group as they continue to be an influence on the community around them.
Maranatha Masala. Today we are going to be talking about obesity. What is obesity? It's having an excess of body fats that is in the abdomen or on the belly and under the skin. This can lead to diabetes, especially type 2, high blood pressure, heart diseases, gallstones, a number of cancers, and many, many more. Causes of obesity. Mainly, we know that other people will tell you that it is genetic. Commonly, it will be because of leptin deficiency. Other cause, it's inactivity or physical activity, lack of it. Diet that is simple in carbohydrates, overeating, frequency of eating, medication such as, an example, contraceptive or even Tegretol that is used for epilepsy. Some other causes will be psychological factors, for example, emotions, boredom, or even stress. Diseases like Cushing syndrome is also one of the causes. Social issues, as simple as lack of money, that makes us not to be able to buy healthy food, but to buy junk food or even food that are not good for our system. Why obesity? Because it's a very difficult problem to treat. It has a problem of a high relapse rate. Unless client or a patient or a human being understand what they are doing when they want to lose weight. It is not a short-term fix, but it's a lifelong commitment to proper diet habits and also increase physical activity and regular exercises. After weight loss, some regain it within 5 years of loss. You must remember that goal must be to achieve and maintain healthier weight rather than to achieve an ideal weight. Every time when we want to reach an ideal weight, you will reach it. Then from there you will go back to the weight that you never wanted, because your focus, it is not aiming to want to maintain, but it's just to lose weight, and that's it. Now, how do we know that somebody is overweight or somebody is obese? There's another thing that is called body mass index. This one is a calculation. It's a formula that calculates kilograms, that is body weight, divided by height, that is squared. They say normal weight or normal body mass index, it will fall between the ranges of 25 to 24.9. That is 24.9 to 25. And then they say overweight is more than 25 to at least 24.9. And then obese, it will be over 30. But then there's another one that is saying morbidly obese. This is a body mass index that is over 40 kilogram per height squared. So in other words, when you step onto your scale and your scale says you are weighing 90, it means nothing unless you also calculate your height. Once you start calculating your height, then you divide that weight with your height squared. That's when you know your body mass index. Why is it that? You'll realize that short people are going to be the ones who are having a big body mass index as compared to tall people. Yet when they all climb on a scale, they will all be weighing 90 kilograms. And that's why in my personal interpretation, I wouldn't take a body mass index as an ideal calculation. And this is only for my personal. For you, you can continue to use body mass index just like everybody uses. Why am I saying that? I want to give an example of water test. You take a glass of water, you fill the water up. You take another glass of water, you fill it up. Take a piece of meat and put it in one glass and see what happens to that meat. If that meat sink to the bottom of the glass, then it means that meat has a weight. Then on the other glass, take that fat and put it into another glass. If that fat sinks, then the fat has weight. But chances are, it's likely that the fat is going to be on top, which then means it's not about the weight. It's about weight versus the height. And that's the reason why I say with the body mass index, just because we are vertically disadvantaged like us, like myself, it's not fair for us to be calculated that we are overweight just because of a lack of height. So I have went down to look and spoken to dietitians just to check what is it that do they check when they say somebody is obese, somebody is overweight. There's something called skin folder caliper. This is where they take your skin and pinch it a little bit and then start measuring it. Perhaps you can see it on the slide. And then there's another part that is called, that is used to measure. They say it's a waist and hip circumference. You also will see it on the slide where they measure around your waist. They compare it also with your hip. There must be some certain ratio that needs to be workable there. And then the other one, it is a upper arm circumference. The other one is also a thigh circumference. You must remember that this upper arm and thigh circumference, you use them only if a person says, I am fat. Then that's when you start measuring their circumference. But a person who is a weightlifter, chances are even if you measure their upper arm, you are going to find that it's big, but that is not fat. It's a muscle. So this is where you have to be able to distinguish, not because somebody's having upper arm centimeters, you assume that this person is fat. No, it's not that. But it is. You must also consider the fact that this person is either bulky muscles or they are complaining of fat that they do have, especially when they do not exercise. Now, let us get into some few theory which is written in some books. It is said that we have 30 millions of fat cells, 30 to 40 millions of fat cells. Now, he or she who makes an extra fat cell in order to store extra fat will keep that cell for the rest of their life, even though they remove the fat content. In other words, when you have created fat cells to store fats, then you decide to go exercise and you lose weight, you eat nicely, the fat cell that you have created, they will always remain there. Unless you fill them up, they will never be filled up. But if you decide to neglect exercises and continue to eat as much as you can, or roughly as you would, those fat cells, then they are going to absorb the fat, the new fat that is coming. And that's the reason why obesity, even when you treat it, it has high failure rate. It is also said that 90% of obese or overweight, they overeat, because the food they eat is empty of calories and have enough minerals. It does not have enough minerals and vitamins. It is mostly likely that the cycle which needs weak points. In other words, what am I trying to say? Let me rephrase this. Obesity or overweight is like a cycle which needs a break point. A cycle, in other words, you eat, you try to lose weight, but you continue, it comes back, and then you just like, unless you decide to break a point, either you stop eating or you decide to exercise, so long as there's somewhere where you can break a point. A fat cell of a person develop, this is an example, a fat cell or a fat person rather, who develop arthritis, which makes it to be difficult for him to exercise because they have knee pains, for instance. Just because they have knee pains, they are not going to exercise. Them not exercising, they're also going to gain weight. And when they gain weight, it makes them not to also continue to have a painful arthritis. So that's why I'm saying it's a cycle, unless one of them is broken. So you can't break your knees so that you are able to exercise. Chances are then it means we must deal with the weight, so that at the end of the day you will be able to stop exercise, to start exercising. Another point is that overweight and obesity, it's like an addiction. It relapses, and also it is very difficult to let go. Just like a person who's on drugs, it is very difficult for them to let go the drug, and it is also likely that even when they move out of those drugs, they relapse. Now, let me go to solutions. I'm going to give you a lot of solutions. It's better for you to write down, or you will always rewind the video. Number one, do not eat for fun. Eat for health. Number two, avoid junks and avoid snacks, avoid caffeine, avoid soft drinks because they have lots and lots of sugar. Avoid also processed food because they do not have fiber. Number three, drink lots of water. Sometimes feeling of hunger can be tested by just drinking a glass of water. If after you have drank the glass of water you still feel hungry, then surely it means you are hungry. But if after you have drank the glass of water you do not feel hungry, then it means you actually needed water. As simple as that. If you can calculate the calorie intake versus the calorie output, that is good. Go for it. For loss, calorie of output must be greater than calorie intake. In other words, you need to eat small, but when you go and work out, exercise, do it abundantly. Do not skip breakfast and lunch. You can skip every evening meal entirely. It is of no use if you have had good breakfast and moderate lunch. Obtain enough fiber, enough minerals. Do not end your meals with sweets. Never overeat. Avoid chewing gum. It makes you to feel hungry. Make it a habit to eat nothing after meals until the next meal. This is the reason why we say avoid snacks. When eating, focus. Do not be socializing, talking, reading a book, playing with a phone, because when you do those things, you are not going to be able to stop eating. As you continue eating, you forgot that that's the message that you wanted to say was this. Then you start talking immediately. Then you feel like there's a gap that you have never filled up. Then you start eating until the whole plate of 5 kilograms it is finished unnecessarily. Try as much as possible to eat raw food than cooked food. Go on cleansing juice once a week. colon cleansing, and body detoxing. Regular exercise program is needed. For instance, walking for an hour uses 120 calories. Jogging uses 440 calories, even though walking is actually more advised than jogging, especially because you are going to start injuring your knees and your ankles. But when you walk, it's much better because there's no injury anywhere and elsewhere. Swimming in cold water does not help in losing weight because body will store fat trying to protect itself against the cold. So it is much better to avoid swimming in cold. Rather, if you swim, it must be lukewarm water. And that comes to my conclusion. But then before I leave it to you, let me just give you a study which was done in Adventist people. It says 25,000 Adventist study. This you find in the Natural Remedy Encyclopedia, page 482. It said it was found that those who eat most nuts were slimmest. Nuts are rich in serotonin, which helps make us feel full. Adventists are vegetarians, but meat eaters would have harder time losing weight since their diet is heavy in grease and saturated fats. Word of encouragement. Victories are not gained by ceremonies or display, but by simple obedience to Lord God of heaven. He who trusts in this leader will never know defeat. This you find in Proverbs 3, verse 5, and you can go actually even up to verse 10. Thank you.